This conference will now be recorded.
You turned it off. We need to be careful of those hot.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Can I? If you can't hear me, just holler at Will and he'll turn the speaker up for you. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Town Hall this evening. Do we want to just hear your voices? Turn it up. I can sit down. How's that? Can you hear me now? When I tell my husband, can you hear me now? Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Town Hall to review and discuss the potential updated zoning map. Your commissioners that are here tonight is on the end is Loris Perkins, Christine Anderson, Mike Green, and on the computer is Trey Pryor, and he's our go-to man. So he's.
Can you speak up a little bit? Yeah.
Does she need two?
Put them both up there. Now I feel like I'm on television. Okay, I just want to let everyone know, give you a little bit of a brief introduction, and then some of the other commissioners will speak. The Planning and Zoning Commission, as you know, serves only as an advisory capacity to the City Council, and we have no authority for the final action. No requirement or procedure of the Planning and Zoning Commission may govern if it conflicts with the specific provision in the UDC code. The comprehensive master plan and the current UDC code discuss all the various land uses for development. They are complex documents. The comprehensive master plan and the future land use map explaining that it is not a zoning map, but it forms the basis for a zoning map and lays the future foundation for future decisions. If I can find my little pointer again, keep losing the things. There it is. So I want to talk a little bit about the map. The current 2014 map, can we see it for just a second, Will? The current 2014 zoning map does not define each residential zone. The proposed updated map designates by color all the zones and identifies each of the zones, R1 for all the residential zones, R1 through R5. Let me turn this on. Well, starting point. So if you notice on, this is the 2014 map. And so if you notice on here, all the red that is in there, that is your MX zone currently. And all the blue that is in there, is you look in your, on your maps that you can have in your hand. All of the dark blue is residential. So you can see there's a lot of residential inside. But when you go down 281, you see a lot of red in there, and you see corporate down there at the edge. If we looked at the R5 on the proposed new zoning map, you can see also on this one, as we look at it, the yellow now becomes what you saw red on the other map. So we made it yellow so that it would stand out different from what you've seen before. But if you notice, the yellow is running in the approximate same areas as what you saw on the 2014 map. The green area and the dark maroon area are areas that, and the blue are the residential zones. So we didn't do away with any residential zones. Just want to make sure everyone understands that. Now the R5 zone that we're proposing allows for a mix of residential and light commercial uses that's in a mix on the same property or on adjacent properties. And it also provides a buffer between residential and non-residential zones. So you wouldn't want to have, I mean, when we go down 281, we're going to have a mix in there. There you go, thank you. So what you're going to see in there, here is the square, here's the historical district, here is going down 281, and this is a buffer between whatever happens here and the residential, strictly residential areas that are on each side. And yes, ma'am.
Can we all get up? Sure.
Turn this off. Can you hear me now? Better? Yeah.
You might have to talk like that. That way.
Hopefully this will not be a fussing session. This will be a nice conversation that we can share some ideas tonight. That's what we're here for. What I wanted to say was that if you look at the map, you can see that the transition zone is a very effective way that you can have your properties not right up against a commercial 281 area. And that's an important thing. If you have a property, you don't necessarily want to be right next to different types of commercial places. We made minor changes with that zone to keep the residential emphasis with the low impact commercial influence, because we know that there's going to be commercial on 281. Now, if you're in the R5 zone, you can sell your property as a residential or a light commercial property as long as it complies with the zoning district uses. So you're not confined as you had been previously to sell your property for a commercial property. You can do either. Can you back off just a little bit? Just back off just a little bit. So you're gonna, if you look at the map, you're gonna see that the more dense residential properties are closer to the inside. The larger properties are outside residential properties. But if we think about it, how many acre lots are close to downtown that you can build a property on, that you can build a residential or any other property? We're not starting from zero where we can plan the city out for an ideal platform. We have to do with what we have, and we have to deal with what the residents and citizens have done before us and how they have enjoyed Blanco. So we have to remember that when we do a zoning map, not only are we doing it for today, we're doing it for down the road. You also need to keep in mind that the zoning map is a living, breathing document. What we have brought to you today is going to change. We on this commission up here today will not be on this commission 10 years from now, 5 years from now. So you're going to have new commissioners and you're going to have new city dwellers. So this map has to be a growing document to grow with Blanco. It can never be statutory. We can try to give it certain idiosyncrasies. Yes, sir. Right, that's correct. That's correct. Now, one of the things that we need in Blanco is affordable housing. And I've heard that from a lot of people. And the more people that come up and talk to me, the more I can understand what the citizens want. So if you see me on the street and you want to talk to me, walk up and talk to me. I'll talk to anybody, anytime, and listen to anybody, anytime. But we need affordable housing. In addition, we need low-income housing. And there's the difference. Young couples coming in as well as seniors need affordable housing. And in today's price is 175 to 225,000. That's what you're going to find in your R3 and your R5.
Where would you find 175,000? I will buy it right now.
We don't have any, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Now, we also, in addition to just affordable housing, we also need some low-income housing. And we know that we need a low-income housing, and that's going to fall in the sphere of apartments, duplexes, and smaller lots that you put a house on. I'm sorry?
We need low housing and apartments and things that are of concern to people that are in a low residential community. I don't understand the way this is viewed. Is it its root or is it the town's photo?
It's only what I hear from people, and I will not speak to we, maybe I should say Blanco. I believe Blanco needs some of that.
You said this is a regional, we're here because we don't agree. I think we need low income housing because they live in Atlanta, they can't afford the water. You know, they can't afford the electricity. They can't afford to live here. They might get into a house, but they can't afford to live there because of the expenses of our utilities. There are so many retired people who are suffering because of the price of water that we pay. and because of other factors that are increasing taxes and all that. So we don't need to bring people into Blanco that, I mean, we're struggling right now to afford those things. And we do not want low-income housing in Blanco. It just breeds a crime.
Hold on just a minute, just a minute. Let's finish. Let us finish our introduction, and some of the other commissioners are going to speak, and then we're going to open the floor up. But we would like for you to go to the microphone because we do have people that's online that want to hear you also. We will be here until you're completed answering your questions and making your comments. But if you will just let us do our presentation, then we will listen to what you have to say, and we will take those notes. And I encourage you to write on your sheets that you have and put them in the box. Everything that you write, we go through every piece of paper that you give us that you have comments on. If you have comments, write them down. We will go over those as a commission in our next meeting. Couple of the things that came up in the previous town hall was that you would like to have the zoning map show the historical district designated on the map. And Trey has come up with an idea of how to do that. And so we will, in fact, indicate where the historical district is. Also in the comments came up about parks, that the community wanted parks. Not me, the community wanted parks. And so that came up in the comments, and the R5 zone allows a public or private park anywhere in the R5 zone that we can set up a park, then it's allowed there. And also another thing that came up was property taxes. The zoning does not dictate your property taxes. Your property taxes are mandated by the county, and they don't look at your zoning, they look at the use. Annexation came up. We do not have, the city can no longer annex anyone unless you want it to be annexed. You have to approve it. So nobody can just go out and annex your property. These are some of the highlights of the zoning map and a review, and you can review the posters that's over on the right. Any of the commissioners up here will be more than happy to answer your questions that you have regarding the zoning map. Trey will be happy to show you a close-up of any various zone that you would like to have. I want you to be sure and complete the questionnaire that you have, put it in the box. We will look at them, we look at all of them, we read them, and we discuss them. I just want you to understand, no one here is going to be happy with everything that's on the map, the current map or the proposed map. I ask you that you look at it as a whole, as a citizen of Blanco for the entire citizen. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's look at it in its entirety. And then you have a chance, again, when we're done here, and you have completed talking with the Planning and Zoning Commission, keep in mind, we are a referral body. This will then go to the City Council. You have another opportunity. They will have at least one, and I have no clue how many public hearings for you to come and voice your opinion. Those are the people that will either pass this or not pass this. So we're here to collect all the information we can and to have a sound footing basis on what we can give to the City Council for them to make the final decision. Thank you for your attention and for everyone coming. And now let my other commissioners speak if they want to, and then we will go to a question and answer series on whatever comments you want to make.
Where does the community's opinion count? This presentation you're talking about?
It counts today as we will begin to look at all of the concerns and the comments that will be discussed, and we will put that into the zoning map and the planning, and then we turn it over to the City Council for their final review, that they will then look at you and listen to you and make any adjustments that they deem necessary and either approve it or not approve it. Sir, if you wait just a minute, I want you at the microphone because what you're asking are important questions, but I would like for everyone to hear them. Just hold on for just a second. Okay. Does anybody else want to speak?
Basically, I want to say that none of this is written in stone. We've invited you all here so that we can get input. So, let's sit down and discuss it. Blanco is growing, and it's going to grow whether we want it to or not. And part of having to deal with that growth is getting ourselves organized so that we can have a city or a small town that we all can live in. Whether we're going to need. I mean, somebody mentioned our utility bills. They are high. That's true. I think, to me, if we organize ourselves, the more people that come in, the easier it's going to be to pay for finance some of these things. I'm not advocating big growth. I'm just saying that if we have an organized approach to this, it's going to be a little bit easier to deal with. That's me.
I think we might make a comment that in the last public hearing that we had, that we did take points that were brought out and discussed them, and there were some changes that we're looking at on our map. So what you say today is going to be very helpful to us.
Hi, my concern is that the residents I've spoken to in Blanco have expressed concern, number one, that we retain the charm and the rural character. And my question to you is, how do we do this? How do we ask residents to do this in a way that's economically feasible for them, but still maintain some sort of a continuity, so as you travel through the streets of Blanco, you still have that rural feel? And rural as opposed to someone with pride in their Western and culture and the area that surrounds the city of Blanco, as well as within the city. It doesn't mean that one has to change what one does. We just have to find a way to coordinate the character that's requested. But I would love to have someone define what kind of charm and character you're looking for. As many of you know, I'm an out-of-towner. What I hope to bring to the Planning Commission is simply what I've seen and learned in the other places where I have lived and worked, some of which was in the planning and zoning field. So my question to you is, if someone wants to define a charm, a rural character you're looking for, please, that would help us very much. The other question I wanted to mention was about the parks. I think parks are a good idea personally, because I've read urban planning guides for rural areas before they get overdeveloped to please, I'm sorry? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it. I couldn't. And we would be open to ways to do that.
Please come up to the microphone so we can hear you.
Yeah, but please give us, if you can.
Hear you at the microphone. Come up to the microphone and we'll listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, we are exploring that option, but we would sure appreciate a way to do it, because you live here and you know what might work. I did. It won't go.
State Park. That was just this. We've got the best parking, a lot of acreage right there. If we can find a way to give Blanco citizens a break to get in there, $10 a year, something like that. Anyways, we wouldn't need that extra cost.
Ma'am, I tend to agree with you, but there were a lot of comments from the first town hall about why don't we have more parks in Blanco? And my only point was that you can put a park anywhere you want to on this R5 zone. Now, whether we do that or not, that's up to the citizens and how the city leads it. And I agree with you. We have a great state park and we need to broadcast that.
They might need to, I know I've seen people come out with guns trying to get people, keep people from going down into the river, Blanco River. This is my part of the river. Nobody else can enjoy it. All up and down the Blanco River. I've only lived here 13 years, but my husband's family's been here generationally, and it's my town. Graduated 3 children here. I know that behind CJ's and all of that, there are so many trailers. Talk about horrible housing, low price housing. And I have heard so many times of people that are living in those that don't have electricity. So to build more low rent housing, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay their electric? More of the government giveaways coming out of Washington right now. We bought my husband's 1926 grandmother's house across from on the high school road there. And we have a wonderful, thank God, we put a ton of money in it. We have a wonderful renter, but behind it, we have a whole nother lot. And we've thought about building a rent house there, building a duplex. We understand that there's a need. I'm a realtor, my husband's a lender. But behind that are the worst, horrible looking trailers ever. And so it's like, how are we gonna build high enough fences or whatever around there to get people that would actually be able to pay? We can build a reasonably priced duplex and do that. You know, $1,500 a month. I don't think right now with Biden's prices sending everything through the roof, I don't think that we're gonna build that right now. We planned on it, but the change in presidency has really screwed a lot of people. And we have tons of people deciding not to build right now. And so until they figure that stuff out in Washington, I can't tell some nice couple that's come in here that makes a lot of money that, oh, here, but don't look at those trailers over there with all the crap around them. It's just filthy.
We understand, ma'am.
That
We
is
hear you.
ridiculous.
We understand.
And I also live on Lindeman Lane, where we have been subjected to being brided by cops for the last couple of years over the pipes and everything else. It's been insane. And to think that this just terrifies me, to think that this brings in 1,400, 45 square foot wide lots behind us. It's just pulling it that way. We have water issues in Blanco that we can't even solve right now. We do not
So what do
need
you
to
propose?
add,
Absolutely nothing?
we don't need to add high density housing. Excuse me, sir?
What, do you propose that we do absolutely nothing to try to,
No, I think we need wise, but we should not be paying for people to live here who can't even afford their electricity. That isn't our job. And I don't want everything to be free for everyone, but you're asking for investment and a lot of developers to just come in and be greedy as heck and come in and build. We have been subjected to so much disrespect and trucks and roads behind us. And we once had a really peaceful, beautiful place. And we put a ton of money into taking care of our house and adding a casita in case we need help as we're getting older for somebody to live there. And to think that behind that could be house after house after house after house after house after house in your zones here.
but this
And
is
they're
what
gonna
exists.
build a water treatment, their own water treatment. Y'all can't handle the water treatment system we have right now. I live on Lindeman Lane. I've gone down there and seen the froth and the crap, and it's just gross. But who cares? Maybe you should ask people from Wimberley what they think about the water issues. I just think this is, I think you need to be careful,
You
step
do
carefully,
understand that what you're looking at on the map is what you have today.
step carefully,
This is
step
not-
carefully when it comes to
this is-
low
it's
income and high-density
We-
housing.
The zoning is only making it
Step
a
carefully. and that
possible
step
thing to have
Carefully.
eventually for you to have whatever the citizens decide to have. But
I
we're
have
not, the map
seen-
does not change
I have seen
anything.
neighborhoods destroyed all over the San Antonio area. That's, my family goes back to Alamo there, so I've seen it. Or just putting it in for money's sake, so you can put a lot of poor people there who won't even take care of anything. That's who Blanco should not be trying to attract.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The last issue I was going to mention was that I was speaking with some folks from Blanco who are unable to find folks to work for them because the workers cannot afford to live near the city of Blanco. So that was an issue we're trying to address because it was brought up to us by a number of the residents.
Hi there. My name's Ralph DeLeon. My wife and I own the Blanco County Inn on 9th and between 9th and 10th Street. We own the whole block now. When we came here, that property was a little rustic. And from what I'm hearing is you want to keep property values down. You don't want anything to raise the price of the property. You're going to end up with all these slums. I right now have my block on the sale on the market for 1.75 million. We put a lot of sweat and blood in that thing. And I don't know if you've driven by there, but it's a very nice place now. And, do any of you own your own business? You know, this business of, well, we need to give property to people that can't afford it. Well, right now, if you go to Stripes, if you go to a lot of these places, the people are coming in from Spring Branch or Bulverde, the ones that want to work. The ones that don't want to work, we end up with a lot of these people that the churches or the Good Samaritan put them up, and they just kind of like go and they go and they go, you know, they're not producing people in the town. We don't want those kind of people. We don't want that kind of property. It's my understanding that you guys can say, okay, you can't have a hog farm next to my house, or, you know, you got to have, this is for industrial, but this business of pricing the lots or whatnot, that's nuts. I don't mean to
Now,
be
you do
ugly.
understand that we're not pricing lots, and I hear you. I don't know about the others. I have to speak for me. I hear you, and I understand what you're saying, but we're not advocating any of the things that you're talking about. We are not advocating to have broken down neighborhoods, nor am I advocating to have anything that would be detrimental to your property. All we're doing is trying to make a zoning map that protects your property. We don't, when I have been on the commission, I've had a lot of citizens tell me, don't do variances. We don't like them, don't do them. I don't want to do variances either. I want to get a map that allows us to say, this is the UDC code, and if you don't follow the UDC code, then you can't do your business here, one way or the other.
I don't understand all that. All I know is that the kind of people that I want to attract to Blanco are people that want to buy and improve the property, and people that will have businesses that attract tourists, because that's our biggest.
That's perfect. That's
tourism
what you get in. That's what you get in the R5 zone. You get retail all along 281 anytime that you want it. So that's a perfect thing.
Aside from that, you know, the big draw right now here in Blanco is the square. That's it. We need to pick something like Con Street going up and make it either commercial or multi-use. That way businesses can keep going up that street. We had a restaurant that was 2 blocks up that never got any support from the city, and it finally died. But if we were to put sidewalks up Pecan Street and make it a walking boulevard, people would naturally go up there and it would bring more people to Blanco to stay here.
I think that's a great idea, and I will pass that on to the city council. There isn't
Yeah, I
anything
think-
that we can do.
I think we all think that's what's going to happen to Pond Street. It's kind of a natural flow for the city. And so I don't think anybody's really trying to stop that. I think all we're trying to do, or at least I feel like all we're trying to do, is set up 281 so that those residential homes that are there, I mean, when we're talking about that area, we're trying to set it up so the residential homes that are there can continue to live with growth that may come to town. So, I mean, some of those houses are going to be sold. I mean, some of those houses are private residences now. They're going to be sold as businesses, and that's going to add to our community. Pecan Street, you're right. Most of it is what? R3? It's R3.
All I know
But
is that yellow.
But that doesn't,
And I don't understand what this buffer zone is.
it's like commercial. So-
It's like multi-use.
So, and it allows those people that live across the street from you to the north to maintain their private residences and you to have a business there.
Now that's, I mean, all I heard was something about little lots and pricing limiting the price of lots, and that's crazy.
Nobody's going to limit anything.
You did not hear
Well, I
that.
can
You did
go
not
with
hear that from the council. You heard that from another person that was speaking. We are not trying to low lots. We're not trying to drive prices down. All we're trying to do is to protect a residence from being ousted. You can have a residence there and you can have a business next to you. The yellow did not change anything except it's almost the same as what you had before on MX. If you look at that map next to the other map, they're almost identical. All we've done is given you, the citizen, a little more freedom to address what you want to do. That's what we've done.
All right, I've said my piece.
Okay, my name is Cesar Diaz-Rences. I'm neighbor of Susan Moore across the street. I own the storage place. I think we all have our deeds, and the way they are written, they need to be respected, because when we bought, we invested, like I invested in my piece of land as it was listed, and I intend to keep the same use. I don't want any change because I have development ideas in my property in Blanco Avenue. And I don't want for the city to stop my permits for the ideas that I have for my development. I'm just saying, because I've been trying to talk to you for 3 years and I haven't gotten a response. 10 letters, no response. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else?
Martha, Ms. Cosnell?
Come on up.
Okay, someone made a comment about people having input and who decided that we needed housing for lower income people. I've been on city council, I've been on planning and zoning, I've been here for 20 plus years, and we've had many, many opportunities for the citizens to participate. We had a survey, which everyone got all excited about. When we made a presentation about the results of the survey, those same people didn't participate in taking the survey. There have been many opportunities. When we did the first Safe Routes to School program, we had a town hall, 3 people showed up. And then they complained about the sidewalks. Not those 3 people, people later. So you all just have to get out there and listen to what's going on and participate when you have the opportunity. On the survey that we did, a lot of people complained about the cost of housing. Their kids can't stay here. Their kids have to move to the big city. They can't work at Redbud because when you make $12 an hour or whatever you make there, you can't afford to pay $100, $1,500, even $100 or even $1,000 in rent. $750 in rent is the lowest I've heard around here. If you're making $12 an hour, can you afford that? Can our school teachers afford that? They don't make that much money. So where are they going to live if you don't have housing that's affordable to them? And that doesn't mean that you've got to have slums. You just have to, you, the property owners that want to get the most for your land when you're putting it on the market, have to consider that if they put it into smaller lots, the developer who's going to buy your property for $1.5 million is going to be able to afford to do that if he makes smaller lots and builds homes that then sell for $200,000, which sounds like a lot for those of us that, you know, our first house that we bought cost $11,000. But that's what people are faced with here. They can't afford $400,000 for a house. So you've got to make the lots smaller in order to afford that. Now, Candy, you think that there are people out there? Can a school teacher afford $400,000 for a house?
Work for a building materials company and cost of materials has gone up across.
Sir, please.
He's saying that the cost of materials for building has gone up. You can't do it.
You can't do it. So we have 2 goals that are incompatible as far as cost and the price that you bring a rental property to market. The investor can't, you know, the lot is just the land. Yeah, how many houses can you stack on a piece of land? That brings us to the high density discussion. I think that most of the people here would agree that we don't want high density in Blanco. That's probably the reason that people live here. Because it's not high density, it's charming, and you start, you know, cramming people in, then well, it's no different than, you know, San Antonio or Austin. Why move here? Stay in San Antonio or Austin. The reason is they're getting priced out of San Antonio and Austin because $300,000 and $400,000 is the norm in starter homes these days. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are moving here from out of state, out of California. We can blame the Californians, but they're driving the price up and paying over the list price for homes. So you got a lot of folks in Austin can't afford to live, and they're trying to find a place to live. I agree that we have to find a solution, but I think what everybody is trying to tell you is that not in my backyard. We don't want high density in Blanco. 1, the infrastructure won't support it, and 2, it just destroys the hill country charm, what we all love and
And then let me take this a step further. We have Blanco boundaries and we can control what happens in Blanco. 2 feet outside of our city boundaries, we have very little control. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the development at 32, whether it's happening or not happening, or, you know, whatever the situation is right now. We don't have any control over that. It's not inside our city limits. A developer could come in and build nothing but apartment complexes there if the county allows them. Yeah, that's okay because is that our backyard? I'm sorry.
It's not about low-income people. It's not about affordability. What's happening is we grew up in a rural community where we love the land and we love the natural environment and we love our elbow room and we love the sky and we love the river and we love all of it. We can't become a city and take care of city problems. We must protect the rural world. And if it's only a 3-mile circle, so be it. We will protect that with everything we have because that natural world is who we are. I don't know. And I know your point is well taken, sir, that what are we going to do with these people? What are we going to do? I don't know the answer. It's kind of like the street person problem in Austin. What the heck? They're going to bus them here one day, put your parks in, there you go. But it doesn't, what's got to happen is we can't solve their problems. We have to find what we stand for as a community. And if it's on the edge where Mr. Wheeler or his group or whoever it is keeps throwing numbers of properties and the developers, then they do. We can't buy the rest of that land. We don't have the money. But we have a jewel in the crown, and it's loved by all of these people here. And it's not about rich versus poor. It's none of that. It's about the love of this natural world. And we can't solve it when you go high density. You put high density pictures up, and then you get all the people coming in with the variances, and you get all the people like, I want a 45-foot lot, 30, that we voted on the last time, or I'll talk to y'all about. It doesn't work. We have to eliminate high density residential, or just go back to what Candy Cargill said in the paper. Why don't we just go back to a residential setting and deal with it as a Blanco Heritage Development Code? And the heritage is for the love of the natural world and space for people. And that puts us into low density. And when you guys look at the heritage that you want, you can take a testament from everybody sitting in here from hundreds of years of loving this land. And you will find what that means. And it's about space and breathing room. And it's about seeing deer and birds. And it's about saving trees and not building all of this crap that's coming in. Now, we can be a town of money, like Port A, what happened Port A after the storm. It's horrendous. And they let it go. And that happened. And the rich live there now. We're not about the rich. We're going to be struggling to pay our own taxes here. But you guys have got to hear the message that we don't want high density. And that isn't a vote against the poor. And it is going to happen on the peripheries, and we can't help that. It just won't. And we'll have to figure out how to flush the toilets as more tourists and more people from the periphery come through town.
I just want to say one thing to you, because you've said this 2 or 3 times, and so have some other people. We did not increase the high density zoning.
Take it off
It
your
is the
map.
same as it is
Take it off your map.
today.
Don't put it in writing.
It is what it is currently. It is not what is in the future. It is currently there. We haven't changed
It's
that.
not currently on your maps. It's currently in your code. We can change the code. We have power. We don't have to listen to somebody dictating to us. Take it off your map. And I'm not against you. I really am not. You'll do a good job, but you're not hearing the heartbreak of this town. What is your name, please, Sam? Sharon said. Thank you, Sharon.
I want to say something because I agree with you. I grew up on a farm in South Texas. I've owned a ranch here in the Hill Country. I don't like rich people who think that they can come in and just cut down trees. I figure you build a house around the trees. I understand what you're talking about. I lived in Dripping Springs for almost 20 years before it became what it became. And they had a no growth council that, in my opinion, allowed what happened to happen. They wanted to keep their town a little tiny town, and they ran on no growth. And that's what they came up with up there. And I don't want to see that happen here. And it'll happen going on either side of town. It'll happen. And then those people will be coming into our town, and we will have no way of controlling it. That's my point. Control it.
You're
Keep it.
saying that a 3-mile
Have you driven through Dripping Springs during their rush hour? It doesn't matter what time you drive through there. It's a quiet little town. They protected the town itself, but not the outsides. They went nuts out there.
So we're gonna put the stuff in the center of the town and say that was the thing to do? You can't. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. You cannot do it. That is my point I'm trying to make. You cannot. That is the problem the impasse we're at is we know we can't control it. We don't own enough square footage. And so we've got two choices now. We can let it go, rip the Band-Aid off and say, high density come in, apartments come in, we're a suburb. The guys will make the money that want to make the money and they'll move on. Just because Dripping did that and you say that's not the alternative, what you're proposing is also not the alternative. You're not going to. And if the town has been purchased, you can't get a house anywhere. If that is the case, then there's not a lot of property up for grabs as long as it doesn't go into apartments and, you know, high density environments. Why can't we stay a residential community within the circle? Why? You're just saying because.
You need to understand, one thing I would like for you to understand, it's not that anybody up here disagrees with what you're saying. We understand that you want to keep it a little country town. When we're talking about high density, which you have, we didn't expand it, we didn't make it any smaller, and we didn't advocate to tear those houses down so that we wouldn't have high density, which is what evidently you're advocating. Get rid of them. We can't do that. They're there, they're people, they have a right to live there just as much as anyone else. But what we're saying is that when you look at high density, it's 5 units per acre. When you look at medium density, it's 3 units per acre. And when you look at a low density on the outside edges, it's 1 unit per acre. Now, you have to look inside Blanco and say, is there anything in there that has 1 acre? There's nothing in there that what you're advocating here is not what's on that map. I just want you to understand what that map says. What the map is saying to you is we have not changed the low density volume or acreage. It is exactly what you had last year and the year before, back to 2014. What we have done is say anyone that is in the R5 zone has an opportunity to sell their property or remain as a residential property and not be forced to be a commercial property. That's what R5 says to you. Now, I understand you're not happy with it. I understand that you don't like the way Blanco is growing. We are trying to contain what we have now and not let it be high density. That's what I am saying to you.
I know, but I really, in my heart of heart tells me you're going to fail at it. And if what we have to do to give it a try.
What do you suggest? What is your option?
My option is if we have the right, I say that we put a vote to the town and ask the town, not you, not the council, but put a referendum to the town and say, can we do away? Can we have 4 settings?
Come back up to the microphone. Say that to me again.
Can we have a referendum that does away with your maps? Can we have a referendum that does away with your attempts? Because these attempts, as well intended as you may think they are going to end badly. And if the community that has lived here for a long time can withstand the pressures of the cities coming this direction, we still may have a chance to live in a low density, rural, residential community.
Without a map, you have no voice.
We have plenty of voice.
You have no voice. You have no.
I disagree. You've got people. I disagree with that, but I mean, I'm not saying I have any answers. I'm saying you put a map like this where you start dictating and defining high, low, all of the code requirements in there. You've got developers that are going to run circles around you. You're not going to beat them, and they'll take every square inch. And you'll have your apartments for your service industry that makes $12 an hour, and you'll have all the other stuff you're thinking is important to have. But what's really important to have is a core of people that live peacefully
with a little bit of breathing room that protect and respect the wild nature of this town. And that's what you've got to look for. The creed upon which you base this is wrong. The creed was correct in 2014 or whenever y'all brought it into a play. The creed was Blanco heritage. And what I think you spoke to is as newcomers come in, they don't even know what it is. Let's define it for you and let's throw this map away. And from now on, you get your Blanco heritage certification to build anything. And then we'll have a list of rules and you got to meet it. You don't cut down trees. You don't do.
So you're going to change the
45
list of rules that's in the UDC code now to
Absolutely.
whatever
We
you
can-
want it to
It's
be?
called repeal. It's all done all the time. You repeal statutory law. It's done every day of the week. Yes, vote out the code.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you feel I just came in and don't know what you're talking about. The point is, I was asked to be on this commission because they couldn't get someone to be on it. I was a warm body. So I'm trying to figure out, when folks say to me, I want the charm, I'll say, what's the charm? Well, you know, well, I've seen charm in lots of places. I'd love to know what you're looking for charm. Tell us so we can protect it.
We've got plenty of time to tell you exactly what the charm is, but my point is these people live it and have lived it for years. I mean, some people in here go way, way, way back. And so if you haven't talked to them and you're still sitting here with a new map saying, what's the charm? And you don't know that answer, that's a court problem, not directed at you. It's just court. These people up here know the charm and know that you need space. You can't breathe without enough space. I'm
Are you aware of Trainer Road?
Am I aware of
Trainer Road? Okay, you know, we had a subdivision that was proposed to come in with 44 houses. Okay, that was turned down by the planning commission and the city council. So we have your thoughts in mind. And I think the people were appreciative of the fact that it was turned down. And maps like this help do that.
But you put the maps of the blue Trainer, that subdivision Trainer is in blue, I believe, low density. Put blue across the map.
That's what we,
Tell the word is called no. No.
from the
To
past,
the developers, anybody, if it's not low density, the answer is no. It can be pro-growth, pro-development, but low density. Read those stats on low density.
we're looking at that from the last,
And maybe part of the question is, what is low density?
It's-
1 acre, half an acre? No, I mean, in your terms, half an acre, an
Yeah,
acre,
whatever it gets it being.
a quarter of an acre?
No, the court, what's happening, as you saw with Wheeler's proposal up here in the old Staybelt property, it's you give an inch, you get a mile, you know, it's like, oh no, I gotta do 45 feet wide. I gotta do no driveways. They gotta park in the front yard. There is no outlet buildings for their storage. What? Are we crazy? Well, we gotta take down 3 trees. Heritage tree, you know, you heard all the stories here and y'all voted, y'all didn't. You said you would listen to everything and then we went to council and council voted it down. And there was a list of complaints because what happens is if a developer comes in and gets the first 30 houses on 4 acres and the next developer wants the next 30 houses on 4 acres and the next developer wants the next 30 houses on 4, we're done for 90 houses, 30, 60, 90. Low residential, low density, 3 houses, 4 houses, we're still growing, but with people who understand space, with people that have some respect for the land. If we're not, if we got to the point, and we may be there, I don't know, and maybe we just do our obituary and forget it. But if we are not a town that is a rural community, and I know we can't go beyond the boundaries, which was your point. But if that doesn't exist anymore and we just need to build for service workers and developers and all of that crap that comes with it, we're a suburb of San Antonio and y'all get to control it and you get to raise your tax money so you can deal with the problems. But it will be nothing but one big problem.
My question is here, and I'm not advocating this necessarily myself, but how do you propose to pay for your police, your water, your sewage, wastewater, all of that, if you basically don't allow any growth.
Well, let's talk about low density. I just said 4 houses on 4 acres, maybe 8. I don't know if they go to a half acre. I don't think the cops have to increase their force for those 4 houses.
They don't, but they got
let's
to
do
pay them a
90.
wage.
Let's do 90 houses. And then say, how do we do it? We're going to have a force that can't be paid for and 90 more problems. We've got to protect the living environment of the people that grew this town. We have that. And even if you take the people out of it, what's bothering me is there is the natural world. So the cops and how do you pay for it? Why don't we just call it all green space right now and protect it? How do we do that? That would be our time here today. Protect the environment, for Christ's sake. We got to breathe air. We can't cut the trees anymore. Stop the development, it's not stopping growth. It's smart development that believes that the land and the natural world has equal standing. Maybe we look at that. I don't know what the right answer is, but are we going to have trouble putting in 90 new homes on the 4 acres of 4 acres of 4 acres, which is what's being done? I think y'all are running about 30 requests for 30 houses per every 4 acres. At least I've sat through 2 of those meetings. Those are tough numbers. We're not going to have the police to handle it.
And one of the state bill was turned down.
I know.
It
was turned down, and now part of that's up for sale, we'll see.
And we do have, trees can't just be cut down. Well, certainly not. Heritage oaks can't.
Yeah, heritage oaks are protected, but what's happening, and y'all probably see it too, the city people are coming in and they're buying up our neighborhoods too. And there's 4 cars that go in the driveway, and hey, I gotta have another garage because my double garage won't handle the 4 cars. And so you see the little things go up on the trees, and the next day we've got a couple of tree guys that just don't mind, and they're in and the trees are gone and y'all don't even know about it. I mean, that's happening too. There's not a lot you can do unless you want to pick a fight with every neighbor, which you don't. You can't. It's never been a controversial place to live. And now this feels controversial to me. This feels as oppressive as what we're seeing on the freeways and the number of people and everything else happening. And maybe we get swallowed up, but can't we just go down, if we're gonna go down, with land and space and people that we can service and not just a suburb of people that we can't help?
Well, some folks have said that our UDC code is more restrictive than what they have in Dallas or San Antonio and the surrounding areas. And that's what you're advocating for, it to be strict, and we want to do that. What
I'm really advocating for is a sustainability code, which is being done across the country. We don't have one sentence in our code that meets those standards.
That says what?
They're called sustainability codes, and they're being done in, y'all would call them left liberal, which I happen to be, but they're done in places like Oregon and whatever, but places that people deal with the land on a regular basis. We've always had it as a gift out here. Now we're having to protect it. But unless you begin to think out of the box, throw away your ideas about trying to manage these rules, these codes, these fights, these variances, how many feet. Those things never get anybody anywhere. It's a fight by fight by fight by fight. And pretty sure everybody they get tired of the fight and walk off. You didn't. You stayed a long time and fought the battle. But I mean, it doesn't end well. If we could just get what it is that we can agree on either side of the fence out here, which I think is to sustain what's here, not to grow and take care of more problems that come in, I think we'd do better, but that's just my thought. I mean, you can Google them. Google Oregon Sustainability Development Codes. They're all over the place. Pick your box. They already write them for you. There's people thinking these days on how do we protect this thing? Because we just can't tear it down. Well, we can, but I do think high density residential is a mistake tonight. And I know you're saying it's the same.
That's 5 acres a lot, and we haven't changed the boundaries of that. That is the same thing that you have on, it's in red on your other, on your other map. The only thing you haven't seen on your other map is you have not seen the R1, R2, R3, and we show it here. And that's what's bringing this to light, but it isn't changing it. What we did is we walked
Right, you
those streets
took the-
and we saw that those homes were 5 acres, 5 homes per acre. That's why it says low density. That's the lowest you can go. And so I just want you to know, that's not a buildup. That's not something that we're asking you to build. We're saying that that's what is here now, and that's what you need to look at. That's what you're living with today.
Right, but we need to repeal that provision of the code, is what we're saying. The code should not be there. You should not have a right to tell us that there is a code provision that defines high density residential. Eliminate it. It's blacklined. It's out. Zip. Repeal the code.
So Sharon, what happens? What happened? I can't, yeah, I can't hear you. Come on up, Candy. Oh, first of all, thank you, Sharon.
No, go ahead. You have the word for now. I just have a suggestion, but you get the word now.
The current code, what that I found that you are going by, that zoning map matches, is that the mayor sign that has an ordinance number was passed in July 19th of 2000, July 9th, 2019. This one that is 11/20/2020 has no ordinance number that I can find, has no mayor signature that I can find. So, I mean, that one is, but the one that you're going by, that you should be going by, has no R5, has no high density in it.
That's true. And this map that you're looking at for 2020 or 2021, whichever one you want to call it, is not passed yet. That's why we're having the town halls for you to have your comments. It's not a map that's in effect. It is a proposed map.
Okay, but you keep saying that high density is already there. No, ma'am, it's not. In the UDC, in the current UDC that has the mayor's signature and has an ordinance number, no, ma'am. High density is not there. Okay, MX. I don't think that it says high density in there. I stand corrected. Then why change it? You know, what we've always.
That's why we try to see it with residential field rather than commercial.
But I'll have to go back and check, but I believe that MX did allow for apartment complexes to go in on that. So that means anywhere along 281 where there's currently MX would allow for it.
That was under multifamily residential. That was what makes sense to me. I'm one of these KISS people. Keep it simple, stupid. And it's just gotten way too complicated. And as far as controlling the growth, what has controlled our growth for a long time is our natural resources, because we don't have the water to have new people coming in. We don't have the water, obviously, to take care of the people that are here. So why don't we work on doing that first? Take care of the citizens that are paying the taxes, that live here now, rather than worry about what might be. I mean, the what ifs, you can't deal with what ifs your whole life.
So Candy, should we, I mean, all kidding aside, other cities, I understand, put in a moratorium in place. Do you think we should put a building moratorium in place?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely 100% until the water and the sewer and the roads are fixed.
And this is commercial as well as residential?
And Blanco has done that before.
Good.
Until they got some, I don't remember the exact details, but it was until they got some UDC straightened out. There's going to be no more building done until the rules were in effect. You know, it was after we need to get rules in effect.
What I want to suggest is a communication procedure between the residents of Blanco and the city of Blanco and the people around the city. There's a page called Open Government in Blanco County. And I think we should all log into that page and express what we feel about all these things we're talking about. Because if we don't, then it's not it cannot be followed by anybody else. It's the only way we can talk to our city council. And our city council needs to express exactly what they have in mind so we can understand and have an opinion and see what the other residents think. Just it's a suggestion, and communication is so important between residents and the people that represent us. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, I know y'all got a really hard job, and I don't want it, and I respect you for what you're doing. And I know it's not just about us. We're not all of us are going to be here. You know, we have to look at the bigger picture. And I don't want to be like Dripping Springs, and I don't want to be like Bulverde and Spring Branch. But I have a question. My husband and I live on 9th Street, and we own almost an acre, I guess, three city lots. And we have a vacant lot as the meadow. And when I looked at this and I saw R3, you know, high density, of course, I start thinking, okay, you know, we're gone. Somebody buys our place. They'll probably tear it down. And so how many, when you say high density, just think about our property. What is this map now? What does that mean for our property looking ahead? What would this enable someone else to do to that property? Would, you know, do you understand my question? When it's zoned R3?
R3, isn't it?
Right, and it says high density. So what does that mean for that property there, which is about almost half a city block on 9th Street?
You said an acre?
Well, it's
About an acre?
the
They could
house
probably
fits
put
on
4 houses in there.
So how many?
4, probably.
That's the high density that this map would allow?
That map is not.
The
current
proposed.
map. Is that the current map?
2014 So instead of one house, right now there's one house that sits on 9th Street between Cedar and Green Lawn. So if that house was gone and under this current proposed map, what could someone do? How many houses could they put there? And we have some wonderful live oaks too, heritage oaks.
I believe but 5?
Just a minute.
5
Cheryl?
houses.
Cheryl,
You know
what y'all have done would be taken away probably if you put more density in it. I mean, more houses in there. So, what y'all have done with the trees and the.
And it was there before we got there.
Yeah, I know, but with the high density, that's what would happen probably.
So that's the answer under this proposed map. Instead of the one house or the 3 city lots, there could be up to 5 homes there.
There could be if you sold it to somebody who wanted
Who
to do
did that, right.
Yeah.
So that is what
But
I wanted to
also,
know.
they would be confined by your trees are big. So
Right.
they couldn't cut down some of those trees.
Well, but just
So-
take that out. I just kind of wanted to use our property as an example here in Blanco in the Heritage neighborhood, you know, the neighborhood, a home that's been there since 1956. And developer comes in. I mean, but I'm not going to be here forever. So trying to look ahead. So 5 houses.
If you are in an R3 district, the most that can go there are 5 units per acre. That's the most. And they have to take in consideration the trees. I mean, that's what that zone is.
That's what that zone is. That's what would happen on the old map. This map does not change the old map. It's basically the same map. The only thing we did was color it so you could see what you have. We didn't change the dynamics. We walked those streets, several of us, to see what was there so that we could present to you what you have now. That is not a future development. That's what you have today. And what we're saying is that in today's environment, that area that you're in allows 5 units per acre, no more. I mean, that's the most that it would allow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, good, you come on up here, bud. You might need to stop me, okay? I have to ditto everything Lynn said, because we do need more space. You take away our space, you've taken away Blanco. And I don't really resent all the newcomers coming in and making all these new rules, but some of us do go back to our birth. We do, our families go back to when this place was settled. And we value our little town. And it's not really my little town because I grew up on outside of town. But we need to think of crime. The more people you put in, the more crime there is. The fewer people, you need fewer policemen. But you put a lot of people. We have a significant drug problem in this town. Nobody really likes to admit that, but there is a real crime problem. And I don't know this with any statistics, but the theft of a lot of things is on the uprise because we have so many people coming in. If we can control the traffic through town, which I don't know why on earth we don't give 200 tickets a day instead of 200 a month. But if we can control that, we can fund our infrastructure. We can do all kinds of things with that money. But we need to keep 5 houses per acre is way too many houses for this little town. You go through town, you see the empty spots, and it just gives you breathing room. You wake up in the morning, you look out your window, you see the deer, you hear the birds, and you put high density, which if it's 5 per acre, that's way too high. Maybe 2 per acre, at the most 3 per acre, but you're getting into big towns when you put 5 per acre. So I also agree with Sharon in that you label something, it gives people something to manipulate. I'm all for no more houses. And the other thing is, people don't have to move to Blanco. I don't know why everybody thinks we have to grow. We don't have to grow. We can say no. They can go to Johnson City, Dripping Springs, Wimberley. They can go to a lot of other places, but Blanco needs to learn to say no, and we need to not let them come. And the kids who grow up here always have a place to come home to, but you know what? Those kids want to leave. They don't want to stay in Blanco right now. They may want to come back someday, but that's their problem.
Can you give me your name, please?
I'm Gail McClellan, but he doesn't want you really to.
Thank you, Gail.
Well, I don't need that to be heard. But anyway, actually, I have a question. I have not been involved in any of this prior to here recently, just hearing and seeing in the paper. Yeah, I'm a property owner here in town. Yeah, a little bit concerning, but I'm not gonna sit there. My question though is, because all of this seems to be dealing with the property owners and what they're gonna either possibly have done to their properties or whatever. My question is actually, I'm not hearing anything about, or I've not known whether y'all done how much research, for instance, you're willing to put, say houses, I don't care if it's a house, if it's a driveway. What about our water runoff? Yeah, more people, all this, I know we're gonna do with the police and EMS services and such. Why? You know, if, let's say that it did get to that point where you had that kind of population going on to the amount of land we got, the water, sewer, and all this kind of mess. What is the city, if this is proposed, what is the city proposed without being, unfortunately, poor little Blanco has kind of just always been behind. You know, I've lived in Blanco long enough that a lot of these city streets were still gravel. And, you know, luckily that for what the amount of money they've had to deal with, they've got us at least some paper. I'm proud of that. I am very proud of that bunch on the freeze thing. And I thought they did real well with what they had to do with. And I don't have a problem with it one. But that's my question to you is, storm drainage, you know as well as I do what our storm drainage system already is, what Town Creek can do, even up there at the reservoir up at Dennis has overflowed. I don't know how long most people in here have been here long enough to see that thing flood over that and take Town Creek and everything in it with it. That's where my concern is not only that, yeah, I'm like everybody else. I'm not too happy of thinking that what I do have might be, Lord only knows what. But to deal with that population, like I said, we're cutting down what they call impervious soil. Yeah, cover. And so where's all that water gonna go? So that's something.
So a couple of years ago, there was a hydraulic study done on Town Creek that has some trigger points as to what needs to be done by when we reduce our impervious cover by development.
Well, that would be, my question is yeah, how are they gonna make Town Creek any better to drain into the river when it's already a problem now? Ask Dr. Pouch, ask CJ's, ask the Methodist Church, all them down there along that thing. How we got, because you're gonna have to have property, for instance. Something's gonna have to get bought out and moved or sold in order to get storm drainage. That was my big deal. And of course, the water and sewer, we both know what Blanco's had to deal with for several years. Major upgrade. You know, so by the time all of this is quote proposed, looks like to me, the city needs to reach up there and let us all know that, yeah, we're going to do something about it too. Of course, here again, all us taxpayers are not going to like to hear about it because we're going to have to put in a till for this. So I just want everybody to make sure, and like I said, I'm kind of ignorant on it. I'm just now learning about all this. I thought I'd at least ask. That's all I'm really doing.
Well, I'll be happy to talk to you about it. So there are some trigger points for Town Creek and hydraulic study. It needs to be updated again, but it's based on what it was based on then, what the projected development could be. As it applies to how development could go right now or to this map, if a developer comes in and buys a certain piece of property to develop multiple houses, let's just say it's in the MX zone. MX allows, that's the red zone, where most of that map over there on the current map is red. He put in a lot of properties there. He's in a R3, he's minimizing how much he can put in R1, equal less, obviously. So he's gonna have to design his own drainage plan that the city engineer has to review and approve that would work with our current hydraulic study. And if necessary, that new developer would have to pay for that infrastructure. So if we gotta
You're going to make a man that goes up there, let's say, what 3 miles, whatever that all is. So you're going to reach up there and have somebody put in 7 pond, not 7 pond,
retention
pond. But ultimately, if that thing gets full, like that deal, it's still going to bear on to Town Creek to get it.
Exactly. They got to make it urban all the way down.
So y'all are you're going to have the authority to make something they can be able to pay to redo. What can you do to Town Creek? Unless you're buying property in order to make that, well, then we're going to look like San Antonio.
We use the Murphy Well in several different areas.
I mean, we know what I do, right? It's like that.
Yes, sir. There's
That's my big thing.
You're right, there are always concerns. And improvements need to be made. We can't pass over to our current system. That's the reason you make that developer pay for that, so the current systems don't have to pay for that.
Like I said, to me, it don't matter who foots the bill. I'd like to know how they plan on doing it there before it happens. And develops a piece of property and however many homes, whatever they're gonna put up there. And then worry about drainage. That dog don't hunt.
No, sir, it had to be addressed before.
I hope so.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we should just have this contact you and me.
Hi, I'm Stefan Roach and I live here, also in Blanco for a little bit. I just want to say that I like the idea of the zoning map, and it's not it's not any different really than what was here from 2014. But the reason why I think the zoning map is so important is because, you know, if I'm a property owner and I buy something in the green area and it's surrounded by green, then I can be rest assured that I know what will be, you know, what could go next to me. If I buy a home and I want to live in a neighborhood, then if the neighborhoods around me, you know, if the lots around me are green, then I know those will always be homes. Or if I choose to buy something in the green next to this this mixed use R5 yellow, then I know, you know, another home could go there, or maybe a coffee shop, or, you know, some light retail like they say. But I know a developer can't come in and plop a car dealership in my backyard. And I think to that end, the zoning map is really important. And as far as, you know, a lot of people, you know, talk about how they don't want Blanco to grow, and that's a, you know, very difficult problem, but everyone in this room has the power to have Blanco not grow. And that's just, democratically, the town, you just don't sell your property. If you don't sell your property, Blanco can't grow. You know, if you want your children to stay here, your children keep living in the place that you are. But I mean, the only way Blanco can grow is by people selling their property. And if no one sells, as a community, everyone can keep Blanco from growing by not selling to a developer. And yeah, I think if we just don't sell to developers, Blanco won't grow. That's one way to solve it, but I don't know.
There's a song,
Thank you very
that's,
much.
I'm just waiting until I get my price, and then I'm out of here. Basically, those are the words to the song. Yeah, you're right. If nobody sells their property, Blanco's not going to change.
My name is Mike Etheridge, and our family's been here since 1915. And we got put in the city limits in 2010. I should bring up where I'm at. Now, show the outline of our property. Most of that blue right there is ours. And we were illegally put in the city limits in 2010. According to the Texas Supreme Court, a city cannot annex you unless you have at least 5,000 population and you agree to be put in the city limits. We protested, but yet we was put in the city limits in 2010. That's free. Now what they want to do is change me to, we're agriculture. They want to put me in low density. We don't plan on development. We never did. That's the reason we protested to start out with. And as far as utilities down there, we got a 2-inch water line that they can't even keep in service most of the time. Keeps breaking. There's no sewer down there. There's no fire plug down there. So we don't even get the services that everybody in town gets. That's the reason I've got to protest against what's going on. Now, I'm not protesting. I'm not against the town growing, because I can tell you something. If you don't let industry come into town or businesses, that's where your tax base comes from. Just like when people's against Tractor Supply coming to town. You've got to have that. If you don't allow that, you're going to end up paying more for your house taxes, because when the state mandates you have to do things, you're going to have to come up with that money from somewhere. Just like that's wastewater treatment plant. Same with the water system. Was that about $7 million they spent there? About 5? Well, then you got to pay for it somehow. People forget about, you know, I'm not against stuff like that, but it has to be done. And the town will have to grow, but I can understand the high densities, because when you start putting 5 homes on an acre, that's too much. We've been in construction for 49 years, and we've done a lot of subdivisions around New Braunfels area in certain areas, but I don't like the high density areas. Now, what you're talking about there, when they do high density, it's like 0 lot lines, but then you get one big growth. big time. Take a look at Canal County. We can't even keep up building schools down there because all the people's there. But I own property right there. I own property up west of town too. And like I say, it's been in our family for a long time, so I don't want to be put in any homes on that property. I don't plan on development. We want to keep it just like what it is. And we own about 130 acres out there. So that's, like I say, I'm not against growth in town, but it needs to be quality growth.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mike.
Have you ever been approached about putting your property in Nature Conservancy?
Yes, more than once.
And have you considered it?
No, I'm not gonna put it that, nope. I'm kind of like this. We've managed to take care of it ourselves. I really don't need nobody trying to tell me what I'm gonna do with it.
But what about your acres?
My heirs?
Yeah.
Well, I ended up buying the rest of that property. It wasn't given to me. I had to buy it. You know.
The people that you will leave it to.
Well, I've got enough kids that they own what own the property is. It's been our family for all those years, and it's not gonna be developed.
Okay, good. Yeah, you're bringing them up, right?
That's right. I want someplace for them to be able to move to one of these days, because the land's getting way too high around here. That property right there in 1960 was selling for like $100 an acre. Now you got people selling their property like $20,000, $30,000 an acre around here. That's totally ridiculous. And the reason that is so high now, because we're getting people coming in here from other states that they can get that kind of money for their property, so they come in here, and so it's no problem for them being able to spend that kind of money for our property. And that's really, at the tax office, it's killing us. That's really, if you don't keep it in ag, they're gonna tax you right off of it.
Well, but we have. Our zone has no bearing on what the county taxes you at. We could change it.
I understand that too, but I still don't like it even being in the city limits, because they haven't even provided us the service they ought to. In fact, they had a water leak in the driveway down east of town. Yeah, they fixed it. They don't know how to fix the damn thing right. I still got no asphalt up back of my driveway. And then now they got another leak, probably 100 feet from the other one. There's an old 2-inch water line that's been there since day one, I think. It just keeps breaking. Instead of repairing it, they got more repair clamps on than they do pipe, I think. So that's, yeah. And that's when I say we've been in construction. We've been in utility construction. We do complete site development now. So it's not like we don't know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Does anybody else want to speak?
Keith McClellan. Just a cautionary note, I guess. I know our government with COVID and everything, in its wisdom, we put some restrictions on rent, those who rent. And they said, well, due to COVID, we don't think that you should be kicked out of your home or your apartment if you can't pay your rent under these circumstances. Well, that's fine to help the renter, but what about the property owner? The one that owns the apartments, all of a sudden, his renters are not paying rent, but he's still got to pay his taxes. He's got a mortgage to pay, and et cetera. If you own a piece of property in Blanco, should the city be able to tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other with your own property? There's kind of two sides to it. If you own some property in Blanco, you've got 2-3 acres, and you're beginning to get my age, and you don't want to mow that grass anymore. Sure would like to keep living in Blanco, but I'll have to move out of Blanco or else move into the rest home. I think we just need to be careful that if you own property, you don't like the city telling you what you cannot do with your property also. Just something to think about.
Thank you, Keith.
I'm Dan Murrah, and I don't know anything about city government, and I sure don't know anything about zoning. But I look around this room and I know almost everybody over here, and I don't know anybody over there. But because of my ignorance, I'd like to propose something to y'all to consider. And I've lived here a long time. There's certain streets in Blanco that even though I drive a pickup, I kind of avoid them for obvious reasons. I want my pickup to last a while. But y'all want to put a whole bunch more traffic in here. You seem to be worried about people that are not here. And this not considered at all the people who are here. I think the people here in this room today have made themselves real clear. We don't want 5 homes an acre. Look at the size of that green area. Can you expand it again or whatever? Look at the size of that. You put 5 homes on an acre there. How many people is that? How many cars is that? And people have talked about the water. Y'all drive down the streets, you know about the roads. Why don't the city come up with a plan to say, let's get this town in shape where we could handle more people? And that would make your job, I understand your job. I wouldn't want your job for any amount of money. Thankfully, I'm retired and I'm done. And I appreciate that y'all have good intentions in your heart. I do, I understand that. You're trying to help people who need houses. There is a shortage of homes in this, or housing in this town. I know that. Everybody knows that. But I don't think you've thought it through to the point where you understand that your plan is not the answer.
And nobody's saying it is. That's why we invited y'all to speak. And I would like to point out that the green already has houses, there are houses already there.
Oh, I understand, but
And
not 5 per acre, sir.
And that's not 5 per acre.
No, there's not you can't, in all that green area, there's not anywhere you can point to me that there's 5 an acre. I live in the green area, I know.
They're there. I mean, the homes are already there, and
No, not the 5 per acre. They're not there. 5 per acre are not there.
No, but the homes that are there are there. And should you choose to divide your lot up, you could. I would advise you not to. But
why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
You're advising me not to.
I think what y'all
But
are
you're
understanding is
recommending-
we aren't advocating growth.
Okay,
That's
great.
not what we
Well,
want.
just stop for a minute then with that. You're telling me you wouldn't advise me to build 5 per acre. We all know it can't handle it. Why don't you do something different with your map to say, we can't do that right now? Maybe in 10 years we can do it, but we can't do it right now. Let's go back to 1 an acre or 3 an acre or something, 2 an acre, something reasonable. That's all I have to say. I want you to seriously think about what you've heard tonight from people who live in the green. If you put 5 houses per acre in the green, or allow one guy to do it, and then next year another one, and then another one, we can't handle what we got. The roads would be, I mean, somebody said something about gravel roads. I'd rather have gravel roads than what we got. And we got no water. Come on, think it through. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
How many of y'all live in town? I know you do, Mr. Perkins.
No.
Y'all both live in. Okay, that's what I just was curious, is if you were trying to do this and you lived out on a ranch. And you just moved here recently, right?
3 years ago, right.
Okay, why did you move here?
Because I was trying to live near my son.
And why did your son move here?
I don't know. He liked the area. Well, he's not in Blanco. He's outside. He's in the county. He liked the open space.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, Candy, yes. I live in the senior apartments because, yeah, well, it was the only place I could afford. So they accepted me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to live in Blanco. And I must say, you've had great ideas. Why am I sitting here and not one of you? But I was asked to be on the board because they couldn't get someone to fill this position. So I'm thinking, I am the wrong person to be here. Why aren't one of you up here doing all this instead of me? So I love your ideas. Okay.
We don't want what?
Wanted to change.
The drinking area,
Mhm.
I don't know, this board did, but you did approve 2 acres for 23 houses with 0 lots.
Wasn't that 4 acres? Are you talking about Los Alamos? I believe that was that 4 acres?
Los Altos, was it Los Altos?
Yeah.
I didn't.
I can't remember. It was a PDD. Yeah. Yeah, it was the PDD, right.
During the COVID stuff.
Wasn't that during the COVID stuff? Was it? Okay.
Well, no, that was one thing that good in the news, no 0 lot. But of course, we didn't have before, and they. Well, they said.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
I know that y'all feel like you've been beat up tonight, and none of us meant to beat you up, but we feel like we get beat up every time a new division, a subdivision goes in, or every time something happens in Blanco. And we know that it's not all your fault. It's all of our faults. We all need, and it's been said, I'm not a really wise person, but there have been some really wise people talking tonight. And we do know that y'all struggle with all this, but we do have to come to a consensus of what, like, I'll never sell my property. I will never, and I will haunt my kids if they do. But no, I don't think that they will, because there's a heritage there that is so important. They talk once in a while about selling it, making all this money, going someplace and buying more. But this is where our roots are for hundreds of years. And we want to keep it so that our roots can stay planted and that our tree doesn't die. And we know y'all don't have all the answer, but you're the beginning, and you started. And that's the hardest part, is to start. And you're right. All we have to do is not sell our places. You're right. But everybody has to not sell our places. And we're the old timers. I can look around here. I can go to Blanco and not know a single soul. But I can look around here and know most of these people, but they probably don't know who I am because I haven't been out and about much. But just keep working and let us help. Let us have a say. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Gail. I want to make one more point. I want everyone to know that since COVID is gone, and even before, the Planning and Zoning Commission meets once a month on the first Monday. We welcome you to come. We want you to come. We want to hear what you have to say. If you don't come and tell us, then we don't know what you're saying. And I know that this one time you want to speak your mind, but we want to hear you every month if that's what it takes. If you need to come, we meet at the Browers Building. It's an open session. You should come and state your case, whatever it is. And if you have to come every month, it's an hour out of your time. And we welcome you. And we do hear you. And we will take into consideration what we have heard tonight. We appreciate you being here. And believe me, everyone on this commission wants the best for Blanco. We are not trying to control anything. That's why we have the town halls. That's why we wanted to hear you. And yes, ma'am, Candy, we do hear you and we do take what you say into consideration. It is not done. It is not done. As I told you in the beginning, we can go through this and we can look at this map and we will consider everything that has been said before we do more additional adjustments to it. Then it goes to the city council. You have another opportunity to come before the council. They are the ones that have the final say. We're trying to do the footwork and do the basics for them. We have heard you. We will take that into consideration, but you have another opportunity, so don't miss it. Go talk to your city council. They will have a town hall also. The next step is that we will take, I hope people left comments in the box back there. If you didn't, we'll take what we heard tonight as much as we can remember what everybody said, and you were pretty clear about what you talked about. We will consider that as a commission. We will go everything that you said, and we will make adjustments to the map according to what we feel like is the most that folks have asked for that we can relatively do. We can't change what is already there, but we can certainly make adjustments to what we have on the map that seems to be very upsetting to people. And we will try to do what the people of Blanco want us to do. But you understand there are some constrictions to what we can do. We have to live by the UDC code. You all know that. People that are here set that up to begin with. And we are confined to doing what the Comprehensive Master Plan and the UDC code says. The map is something that evidently is a spark plug to people. And we're not trying to force a map on you that changes your way of life. Believe me, we're not. I'm married to a boy that was born in the courthouse. And he would probably kick me out if he thought that I was trying to do something detrimental to Blanco. We're not trying to do that. We're gonna listen to what you said tonight. We'll do what we can to accommodate those comments. But you need to go to City Hall and you need to look at the next public hearing and the next town hall, and you need to voice these same opinions to them if we haven't adjusted to make. And remember, not everybody's gonna like everything we did with this map. Please, it's kind of like if you don't like one of the officers in the police force, you don't shut the police force down. So look at the map. Think about everybody that's concerned in the map. That's what we're trying to do, not one person. And I thank you all for your time and your attention and for your comments. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
No.
Right.